The Dallas County Juvenile Department has undergone an in-depth evaluation of how it handles its detainees. This follows complaints about mistreatment of juveniles under previous leadership. Fox 4's Sean Rabb has the results of that review that the new director signals is a new beginning for the entire department.
This look at the department by an outside independent body was approved by Dallas County Commissioners at the request of interim director Mike Griffiths before the new director, H. Lynn Hadnot, took over 2 months ago. State inspectors had found many problems Hadnot's been addressing. He tells me this assessment will help make Dallas County Juvenile Department what it is supposed to be. What does it say to you, Mr. Hadnot?
It says that we have some significant work to do, to put it plainly. There are a number of things that we're doing okay in, but there's also significant work to be done.
Dallas County Juvenile Director H. Lynn Hadnot reacting to an outside review of the department by Juvenile Justice Advocates International, coming to Dallas in January, studying the detention system's policies and practices.
The report says that we should really be focused on policies and procedures that does not promote responses that are punitive or traditionally punitive in nature, and that's what was happening before. Beginning with just core services in terms of humane treatment, changing the culture here in this facility. There were a number of practices that are very well documented in terms of the youth and how they were treated here.
The evaluation included classification and intake, health and mental health, family engagement and programming for detainees, employee training and supervision, and restraint and room confinement. At times, detainees were behind the door, solitary confinement for extended hours, even days. Hadnot calls that the elephant in the room that gave him the biggest heartburn.
Solitary confinement is one of the things that I've heard consistently. Are you guys going to adhere or be subjecting our youth to solitary confinement? The answer is an unequivocal no.
The report recommends improved family engagement, from decisions that have to be made about a youth to how loved ones can visit them. Hadnot says they're trying to secure grant dollars to make visits more personal.
Bring in some new technologies that will help us provide some very complex scanning that will allow families to come in. We can mitigate risk with contraband and maybe look at putting some policies in place where we can have contact visitation in the very near future.
While the state has some 200 minimum standards for juvenile facilities, Juvenile Justice Advocates metric has almost 500 minimum standards. The head of the group who studied Dallas County Juvenile tells me their standards are considered the highest for youth detention in the U.S., adding any facility that engages in this assessment process is demonstrating a desire to do the best for the children in their care. Hadnot glad to have the assessment tool with its many recommendations.
We could have very well just said we're going to adhere to the minimum standards as required by the Texas Administrative Code, but we are striving collectively again to by far exceed what the state would have us to do in providing care for kids and families here in Dallas.
Now, the assessment gives Hadnot a gauge, if you will, for how the department's moving. Staffing is still a problem. He acknowledges that. But one thing he shared is that there are many employees who have stayed for the right reason, and that is they want to do all they can to help kids. And he says he is most proud of that.
All right, Sean, let me ask some questions based on your report here. We hear the word, we're going to change the culture. I think it's maybe an overused cliche to this point, but I want to know what they plan to do. So what does that look like? How does that happen?
Right. At Juvenile, it means no longer business as usual. Hadnot says by having firm new policies in place and being intentional. That means out of the office, on the floor with the employees and the teens in the department's care, custody, and control. Not isolated from staff, but leading side by side with them.
Okay, say a little bit more about the assessment and when it's completed. What do we learn? What are the recommendations? What should be done with that? What do they expect? Sometimes we get these things, doesn't happen, they have recommendations and nothing happens. What do you anticipate?
Yeah, so lots of recommendations for policy changes, procedural changes. And here's what. Hadnot says he's planning to bring back the same team to do an assessment down the road to see how they are doing at implementing changes and what they need to do better. If all of the recommendations made by juvenile justice advocates go up, the department would far exceed state standards.